Hey, my RegTech family, there's George, DRG Custom Cars. Man, I am so excited to be back in front of the camera doing a video for you guys. It's been a long time since I've done one. I just wanted to try to bring you guys up to date on what's going on, take you for a little trip around the shop to show you the equipment that's in, up, and running now. Thank God. This has been a long time coming. In the midst of waiting for the wide belt sander that we were waiting on, we had, just with COVID and just everything that was going on, it was closing everything down. It was making just getting basic material almost impossible. But the good Lord willing and the creek didn't rise and we finally got some stuff together, and I want to show you guys that. So before we go downstairs, for anyone that's tuning in to watch this video, because of the hashtags that are on it with Laguna and Phoenix phase converters, this video is going to touch on those. It's going to show you the products that I actually purchased and how they're up and running. But the video, this one is not going to be an in-depth tutorial on operating any of those. It's just basically going to be a little overview of what I did and how I put the stuff together in my shop. I will be later doing a video, one that specifically is targeted towards the Laguna Enduro wide belt sander. I'll also do one that focuses on Laguna's Cflux Cyclone system. And also I wanted to do one on the Phoenix Rotary 3-phase converter. That thing is absolutely incredible. I'll be honest with you, I did not even know something like this existed till we ran into the problems that I ran into, and this was the solution that Laguna had for me to be able to get me up and running. It's absolutely incredible. I wanted to share that with you guys. To my family members on Facebook, thank you guys so much. You have been absolutely incredible. It's been a long road. It's been hard. I want everyone out there to know that you guys know that I did a pre-order list months ago, and that list was only supposed to have 50 people on it. But because of issues that arose, because I'm on the East Coast and we have family members that are all the way on the West Coast and in South Dakota, and there was a lot of different areas and you were dealing with a lot of different time frames, that when I did that launch, there were a lot of family members that missed out on it because they were 2-3 hours behind. A lot of them had, personal family issues that prevented them from being able to get on to actually place an order. And then by the time they got on, they were sold out. And I really felt bad about that. So I allowed them to get on the list. So that list that was only supposed to be 50 carts actually wound up being 97 carts. And, on my behalf, you guys don't see it. But on my behalf, I had 97 carts to build. At the same time, I was trying to deal with COVID. At the same time, I was trying to deal with getting all this equipment installed and hooked up and running. Just to let you know, I was able to whittle that 97 carts down to 26. So there's only 26 left on the prepaid interest list that I am hoping with this new equipment in place that I'm going to be able to just absolutely rock out with getting these things done so that I could open the list up for the next batch, which I'm not sure yet whether the pre-order list is going to be opened for 100 or if it's just going to be open-ended. That's really going to depend on how quickly this machinery helps me get the carts that are on the list up and done. All right, so please bear with me on that. But thank you guys so much for your unflinching devotion and passion for what we do and your unbelievable support. You guys are absolutely incredible. I want to give a huge shout out to a couple people. First and foremost, I have to thank Ray Carnes from RegTech Grills. For those of you that don't know what RegTech Grills is, man, when you get done watching this video, just go. There'll be a pop-up that comes up at the end of the video. Click on it and go over to RegTech Grills. The company is phenomenal. You are not going to find another company out there that has the customer service base that they have. They do videos every day, several videos a day on some days. They are an incredible family, and when you purchase from them, you are not just a customer, you literally become a family member. It's incredible. It's an amazing organization. And if you purchase one, you will absolutely fall in love with it, just like all the rest of us did. I also want to give a huge thank you to a young man. He lives here close by me. He went to school with my son. They grew up together. He's now a master electrician. Last week we had a catastrophic failure in the shop, and I needed an electrician, and this young man and his father immediately came to my rescue. Within days, they had everything corrected, everything fixed, and they had me back up and running. I really don't know what I would do without this young man. He is so like a son to me. Johnny, thank you so much. I appreciate everything you and your father did for me. You're an amazing young man. God bless you. All right. Other than that, let's go ahead and get to it. I'm excited to take you into the shop and show you the upgrades that we've done. So let's go downstairs and take a look. Let's go, my friends. So as I said earlier, you could see we're downstairs in the shop. You could see the wide belt sander here behind me. This is, like I said, this is the machine that I actually ordered, but if you remember, I had Laguna was making one that was special for me that would run on single phase electricity. This is actually a three-phase machine. For those of you that are not familiar with the difference between single and three-phase, three-phase really has been more of an industry electric. It's more for big factories and shops that are running big, massive pieces of equipment. At your home, you have what's called single-phase power coming into your house, which basically is just two main 120 amp lines coming in that power your breaker box, and it allows you to power everything in your house. You know, the biggest thing you would have in your house would be maybe your oven, your dryer. You know, those are things that are normally 220. And really that's all the power you need. But when you step out into a workshop where you're running equipment like this that has a 20 horsepower motor on it, you really need three-phase electric. Not only is it cheaper to run three-phase, but it's a lot stronger. It can handle a lot more abuse that these machines actually throw at it. So without further ado, I'm going to take you around in the shop. I'm going to show you up close the Laguna wide belt sander. I'm going to show you the new powder coat oven that I built. For those of you that have been following me, you know that my first powder coat oven, I actually built it using a double wall commercial grade refrigerator. Took all the guts out of it. I took an old in the wall oven that was a double wall oven, took all the components out of it and transferred it over into the refrigerator. And don't get me wrong, it worked absolutely incredible. It was an amazing little setup. It worked and got me through like a year and a half, almost 2 years. The only problem was it just wasn't big enough. So I needed something that was big enough that I could do, 10, 20 carts at a time. So that was going to save me on electric. It was going to make me be able to bring you keep the price down on the carts and not have to up them because of running the oven more than once. Also found that I needed a small oven for doing some of your personal logos and stuff that I do. A lot of times I would get orders for like 2 or 3 hinges and a couple hopper braces. And it was real hard to try to fire up the big oven just to cook those couple of little things. So I really thought I needed a small oven in order to do that. I priced them out with a couple, online companies. Most of them are still dealing with the recovery from the corona. So they're 7, 8, 12 weeks out to get some of them. And I just didn't want to see you guys wait any longer. I personally didn't want to wait any longer. So I just went ahead and built one so that it's over and done and I got it up and running. I actually run a test on it the other day. It absolutely worked perfect. So I'm going to walk you around. I'm going to show you the wide belt sander. I'll show you the ovens that we built. I'll show you the cyclone system that we had to install. And I'm even going to take you over and show you what's called a rotary 3-phase converter. If you have a shop and you're if you're working out of your garage and you've been looking at some of these, 3-phase machines and you've been like, I don't know if I could do that. I don't have 3-phase. I can't even look at them. Man, these rotary 3-phase converters, these things are the absolute bomb. It is absolutely incredible how they work. They work flawless, and you can be running some of the bigger 3-phase machinery in your home and building some incredible stuff. So I'm going to show you that. This thing is massive. It's extremely heavy. I think the rotary converter weighs like 600 pounds. So it's no joke. It is a serious piece of equipment. So let's walk around. I'm going to show you how they work, and I'm going to show you one of the reasons. I'll show you the wide belt sander actually in action so that you can see why I needed this and how much quicker this is going to make building these carts and hinges. You know, case in point, my wife come to me last week and I told her I was getting ready to fire up everything and I was going to run it through a test. And she begged me if I was going to do it, would I please build a batch of hinges? My wife, you know, she watches Facebook all the time. She sees everybody's comments. You know, she tries to comment back to a lot of you guys. She's like, man, babe, you know, summer's coming. Everybody wants to start running the Weber 2290 rotisserie on their bullseye and taking it to a completely another level. And everybody wants that hinge. Could you please make a batch of those? So I said, you know what, this would be a good opportunity to test and see just how much quicker I can build a batch of the hinges doing it this way versus the way I used to do it. So let's go up close. I'll show you the wide belt sander and we'll go from there. All right, stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, so this is it, baby. This is the beast. This thing is absolutely incredible. I'm not going to do a full tutorial on this in this video. I am going to do a video later that I'm going to post on YouTube. I won't put it over on Facebook because it really doesn't pertain to the RecTech community. If you guys want to see it, please hit that like and subscribe button at the bottom, turn on the bell. You'll get notified every single time I post a video. If you would like to see some of this equipment actually in action, you know, please take a minute, go over and watch the videos. You know, I have fun building these for you guys and showing you how these things work. You know, this comes from just hundreds of hours of research online and talking with Laguna directly on how to run this machine and just how incredible this thing actually is. So I'll swing the camera around a little bit just to give you a quick walkthrough. You'll notice here on the side, this is where the entry door is, where you load your belt. The belt is actually, if you look up here, I'll show you up here on the wall, that is actually the belts that go in it. They are 37 inches wide and they're 75 inches long. Now there's 3 different grits there. One of those is actually zirconian, one is aluminum oxide, and the other one is a ceramic belt. I wanted to get all 3 so that I could test all 3 out to see what was going to give me the best finish. To ultimately be able to bring you the best finished product. All right, so far I've used the aluminum oxide and I've used the zirconian. The zirconian is a very aggressive belt. That thing will strip. That's one of the main reasons why I wanted to get it. I'll show you here. This is one of the hinges. Now this has been cut out on the CNC. And you'll notice, I don't know how well you'll be able to tell, but this has a really dark gray, you know, splotchy kind of coating on it. That's actually called mill scale. And what that is that's the imperfections that are left over when the steel is made. So if you can picture this being just molten liquid metal, all the imperfections rise to the top. Now, when they pour these out to start making these sheets, that imperfection coats the outside of it as the steel's starting to cool. Now, under normal circumstances, that really will not cause you any problems. You can sand this down, powder coat right over top of it. If you're doing something like a brush bar or, you know, a logo for a grill or a logo or any kind of wall art or anything like that, you can leave that mill scale on there. It actually works as like a rust preventer to stop rust from actually getting to the steel because it's got to ultimately go through the mill scale to get to it. The only problem with that is mill scale it has a high tendency of just flaking off when it gets really hot. So I don't know if you'll be able to notice here. You can see that spot right there. That's actually where mill scale popped off. Well, you can just imagine if I powder coated this and left that mill scale on there, there's a good chance because you're running this on a grill and it's on the back, there's a good chance that powder coat is going to pop off. Now, it's not the powder coat coming off, it's the mill scale coming off, and it just takes the powder with it. So to give you the best product, I have to get that off. Well, in the past, I've always had to cut these out. They all had to be gone over with a wire wheel to get all the slag off of them from the CNC table. Then they have to be, the best way for me to do it, because I don't want to use acid, is you can put it in the sandblast cabinet and sandblast it, but imagine standing at a sandblast cabinet all day long sandblasting these just to get 20 or 30 of them done. You would be dying. Your wrist is going to be killing you, your back's going to be killing you, everything's going to be killing you, and you're not going to want to do it. And that's what happened to me. I'll be completely honest with you. That's the way I used to do them at the very beginning. And I was so sore the next day from being at that thing bent over for 8, 9, 12 hours a day that it was just killing me. So I came up with an alternative where you could use white vinegar. It works phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. I am not going to take anything away from that. It works. But to get this meal scale off of this type of steel, it would take about 5 days. So I would have to cut all these out, wire wheel them, bend them, weld the reinforced bracing on the back, weld the washers on the top for the spacers. Then every single one of them would have to go into a vat of distilled vinegar where they would sit for anywhere from 3 to 5 days. If it was brand new vinegar, they were usually done within a couple days. But if the vinegar had been used a couple times, it really took a week before you could pull it out. And then when you pulled it out, it now has a film on it from the vinegar that you really need to sand off. So just imagine making one hinge would literally take a week, because you would have to cut it out, soak it, weld it, sand it before you could ever get to powder coating it. With this machine, you literally can do in 5 minutes what you used to take 4 days to do. And I'm going to show you really quickly how well this machine works. So if you're in the market for a wide belt sander, you're really going to want to watch the video where I do an up close on this and show you everything that I know about it, which, don't get me wrong, I am not an expert on this. This is a new machine to me, but I did hundreds of hours of research before I purchased it. So let's take a look at just what this thing will do and why I had to get this and how it's going to make a huge difference in the shop. All right, hold tight. We'll fire it up and take a look at it. All right, as you can hear, the machine is, well, the back system is running now. The air pressure is going to the machine. The first thing I'm going to do is mic the metal. So watch how easy this is to do. You actually stick the metal right under their mic that's built in, raise the deck up till it stops on its own. Now that right there tells you that this is 75 thousandths of an inch thick. So right now you can leave it at that setting and run this right through the machine. So let's take a look and see what it looks like. That's before. So as you can see, that thing is absolutely phenomenal. One thing that I didn't show you here on the door, I actually have a little key fob. I don't know if I could turn it around to where you could see that. I have a little key fob that's attached to this. What that does is that actually turns on the Cyclone system that is actually in the other building. This thing is absolutely incredible. Originally, I was going to wire it up so that it came on when you open blast gates and all that. And after talking to Laguna, and they were like, man, we have made that thing to where you can turn it on through, it's like an 8-inch thick concrete wall. That thing works incredible. So I have it hooked to the machine because you really want as much vacuum as you can get off of this machine because it produces a lot of dust. With that Cyclone system, you don't see any of it. It is absolutely incredible. So we're going to take a little trip. I'll walk you over and show you the rotary three-phase converter we installed. Also, I'll show you the Cyclone system. And over here by the door, I'll show you the control panel that actually turns on the three-phase converter. So let's go take a look at it, see what you guys think. All right, so what we have here, this is the actual control box that comes with, now the rotary three-phase converter that I have, it's actually a 50 horsepower. It is way more than what I need to run the machinery that I have in this shop, but it gives me room to expand later down the road. It was a little more costly, but I really was trying to think ahead of the game so that I don't have to deal with this again in a year from now. This is absolutely incredible. This is an actual, a lot of people are hooking these up and running them off of just a single breaker, like a 100 amp breaker, which is what their paperwork says you can do. But I really wanted a full 100% disconnect that was more made to handle a massive load versus just a breaker. I just kind of felt like they would wear out over time. This rotary three-phase converter, it's actually designed to turn it on in the morning and literally let it run all day long to power your shop. But I don't want to do that, for longevity reasons. I want it to only be used when I need it. So I wanted an ability to turn it on and off, which is what we have here. This is the actual control box that came with it. If I take this cover off, you're going to notice that in here, there are like 6 run capacitors. There are 6 start capacitors to help fire this thing off when you first turn it on. It does have a little volt gauge here on the front to let you know that the three-phase converter is working and let you know what watts it's actually putting out. I'll show you how that works. The switch is really loud when you throw it, but bear with me. Right now, as I'm sure the microphone is picking up, you don't hear anything. That thing is so unbelievably quiet for its size. It totally floored me. I'm almost thinking about putting one of those red lights on the box or something that lets me know when it's on, because you literally could turn this thing on and be working throughout the day and forget that you left it on. The only way that I could tell is by looking at this little gauge, which shows right now 241 volts. So it's supposed to be producing 240. It is right there. This thing is absolutely phenomenal. Let's walk over. I'll keep it running so that hopefully the mic will pick up. You can see just how loud this thing is. Let's go check it out. All right, so this is it. This is the 50 horsepower rotary phase converter. This thing is absolutely incredible, the way they designed it. It's an enclosed system. So as you notice, there are no end caps. The air on some of the other ones, these are designed to be in your shop where they're around sawdust, metal shavings, all this stuff all day long. And this motor is sucking in air, blowing it across these fins on the top and keeping this motor nice and cool. Now, Phoenix, one of the great inventions that they did was they sealed the motor. So the air that's being pulled in from the end is only being blown across these fins on the top, on the outside of the casing. That prevents all that from building up inside your windings and shortening the life of the motor. This thing is absolutely incredible. And like I said, this video does not do this thing justice. This thing is massive and it weighs over 600 pounds. This thing is incredible. If you're in the market, check out Phoenix rotary converters. I'm sure they've got one that will fit in your budget that will definitely run your shop. So hold on, we'll take a look at the Cyclone system. Okay, so this is the Cyclone system. This thing is a beast in and of itself. It has an 8-inch port going into it. Now their recommendation is whatever size port is coming off of the Cyclone, run that size as far as you possibly can. So if you have the ability to keep an 8-inch line all the way up and into your shop and all the way down to the tool before you reduce it, that's what they recommend the most, because these don't work on what really is like a vacuum cleaner where you're dealing with a lot of suction and very little volume. These primarily deal with volume over suction. So the more air it can push and pull, the better and more efficient it's going to work for you. This is Laguna's 3 horsepower version. This has a 3 horsepower motor. It's a 240 volt. I love this only because its clean out ability was incredible. Laguna also offers what's called an automatic filter system. This thing, it's hard for me to show you this up close because, you know, it's in this addition on my garage and I have my tractor and everything else in here and it's hard to get around. But on the back, there is a massive filter on it. When you originally buy this, it comes with like a whipper wand is what I like to call it. But it was a handle that hangs off the side and it has 2 paddles that goes down inside the filter. And periodically, you know, once a week or once a day, depending on what your shop requirements are. I mean, if you're running, you know, if you're doing woodworking where you got a lot of mill equipment running during the day and you're creating a lot of sawdust coming through this, you're probably going to want to do it a couple times a day. You would just come out, work that handle back and forwards. Those paddles actually turn inside the filter and they flip off all the dust and it actually drops into a bag on the bottom. But Laguna took it to a step up and you could actually I don't remember what the price was, so I don't really want to quote it because it could very well change with the economy being what it is. They actually sell an upgrade to this, which worked perfect for me because I don't know how you guys are, but it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind kind of deal. This is a small electric motor that takes the place of that whipper handle. And the way it works is it works off of vacuum. So the machine calibrates the amount of air that's being sucked through the filter system. When it detects that the volume of air is being restricted, it automatically turns on that motor by itself and cleans the filter on its own. So I don't have to worry about coming out here every day and remembering to clean the filter. It's going to do it on its own. That was an incredible upgrade. I loved that. I loved that option, and I definitely did get it. One of the big things about Laguna that I loved the most was the way you empty it. You know, there's a lot of companies out there that are making, you know, cyclone systems. I don't want to talk bad about them because I don't know anything about those systems. All I know is the research that I've done. And a lot of them have like a trash can that's actually mounted to the bottom of it that you pick up and you lock latches on it. You take it down and carry it outside and empty it. You know, a lot of things that you don't realize when one of these baskets gets sawdust in it, that thing is pretty daggone heavy. So you really want a way to move it around easy. Laguna absolutely nailed it with their cyclone systems. This down here is the actual hopper where the dust and dirt and debris are collected. This is how simple it is to empty this machine. That's it. Pull the bag out, throw it away, or in my case, I would rather pull the bag out and dump it into a regular bag you're going to throw away because these bags are, I don't know that they're expensive because they send you like 5 or 10 of them when you buy the machine. They are very, very thick. They're very heavy duty. Really, there's no need to throw them away. So it's so much easier to just pull it out, dump it into a garbage can or a bag or something, throw it on a truck, take it to the dump. And then to reload it, that's it. That simple. I don't think anybody has created anything out there in the market that is that easy to empty and put the bag back. That was another one of the reasons why I went with the Laguna Cflux. This is their Cflux. They also make a Pflux, which is more of a HEPA filter. I don't think they offer the automatic system for the HEPA filter because the filter is made a little different. And I really didn't need to pay the extra for the HEPA because I knew this was not going to be in my shop around the air that I'm actually going to be breathing all day. This is actually in a side building. So I was absolutely fine with just going with the Pflux. All right, so let's go back inside and I'll show you the oven. Okay, so we're back in the shop now. I was going to show you the powder coat oven first, but first I really need to show you this. With a cyclone system, you have a main trunk line that comes into your shop, and then off of that, you have drops that goes to each one of your tools. You need to have the ability to put in what's called a blast gate. Well, what the blast gates do is if you've got, like in my shop, my garage is 45 feet long. And I have a main trunk line, which I'll show you in a minute, that runs the full length of the garage and then goes off and goes to the powder coat booth. One goes to the wide belt sander. One you can see here coming down the wall behind me, which actually goes to a floor sweep, and it has a shop vac hooked to it. You don't want to try to energize every single one of those lines when you're running the machine for one specific tool. So like when I had the wide belt sander on, you want all the draw from the Cyclone system to come from that tool. So you don't want to lose, CFM movement by trying to charge all these other lines. So you need to install blast gates to shut that off. Now the problem is if you do it the right way, you want to shut it off right where it tees. Well, unfortunately, the ceilings in my shop are 14 feet tall. So putting a blast gate, at every Y is going to be impossible because 14 feet high, how are you going to get to it? I'm not carrying a ladder around in the shop to close them off. So I did a lot of research, watched a lot of people coming up with hydraulic style blast gates. A lot of them were running off of little electrode solenoids that were activating an air actuator that was opening and closing it. And the more I looked at those, it was like, but to run that, you got to run air, you got to run low voltage to it to get the actuator to actuate, to close it. And I didn't want to do that. So I was like, what's the easiest, most efficient way to do it? And you're in a shop where you have an air compressor, so air is the absolute best friend. You could use it anywhere. And why did I need to add in something more like using an actuator when you can control everything simply with air? So that's what I did. So the first thing that I built when I got the Cyclone was this control panel right here. These, which are air actuated, so there's no electric run to it. Everything is controlled by air. I can open and close any of my blast gates from right here at this control panel. I actually nicknamed it the Master Blaster. You have a regulator because there's no sense in throwing, 100 PSI at these little actuators that really only need like 15 to 20 pounds to operate. So this way you could actually control how much air pressure you threw. And it works absolutely incredible. We'll look up top. I'll show you what the actuators actually look like. So what you're looking at right there, that is the actual actuator and blast gate that is over the wide belt sander. And as you can notice right there, at the moment, it is actually open. So all the air that gets coming from the Cyclone will be sucked through there, but you can simply close that off by flipping that switch, and now that blast gate is closed. And now all the air that would normally be wasted going into that machine when it's not running has now been diverted to the floor sweep or the powder coat booth, whichever one you wanted to be running at the time. All right, so what we have here, this is the small oven that I made so that I could do the small projects if I needed to do like a special logo for one of you guys, or I was doing like maybe 3 or 4 hinges at a time and I didn't really want to fire up the big oven and waste all that electricity just to cook a couple little pieces. I built this. I actually built it using one of my wife's old toaster ovens that she had. I had bought her a new one for Christmas, and this one was an old one she wasn't using anymore, so I tore it apart, dismantled it, and built this oven. So this oven is actually big enough that I think it's 18 by 18 by 21, which allows me to do even the logos that we put on the front of the carts. One of those would actually fit in this oven. A lot of the other ones that I looked at, I shopped around, I was going to just purchase one, but they were anywhere from $1,200 to $2,100 just for a little oven like this, and they were 4 to 12 weeks out to get one. You guys have waited long enough. I've waited long enough. I was like, you know what? I could build one in a couple days. I'm just going to build one. So that's what I did. This one actually works really good. Haven't powder coated anything or baked anything in it yet. I did run it through a couple test paces the other day, and it worked incredible. But hopefully, here before long, we'll be doing up some logos. Now I'll spin you around, and I'll show you the big oven. All right, my friends, this is it. This is the beast. This thing is absolutely incredible. It took me about 2 weeks from start to scratch to build this thing. This oven of this size, built this way, if you bought this on the market, it probably, from what I was pricing, would have cost around $15,000 to $16,000. Which, I don't know about you, that is not in my budget to be able to afford to do that. You know, the original oven that I built that was actually made out of a double wall commercial refrigerator, and I took an old in-the-house double wall oven and took all the components out of it and transferred it over. That worked absolutely perfect. I'm not gonna knock it, but it was way too small to keep up with the amount of orders that I've been getting lately. So I really needed something to speed the process up. As you're gonna see when I open this up, right now I have 40 high lift hinges in there that I baked last night. Those are gonna start getting boxed up later today, and hopefully will go up on the website on Sunday. So please, if you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button to the YouTube and turn on the notification bell. Before I launch anything on Facebook, before it ever goes live on my website, I always post on YouTube first. So if you want to be one of the first people notified about it and you want to get a chance to get in on it before they sell out, make sure you subscribe and turn on that bell. A little bit about this oven. This thing is actually 4 foot by 4 foot by 7 foot. It's completely insulated with 4-inch rock wool insulation. It's built out of 18 gauge galvanized steel. A lot of the powder coat ovens that you're purchasing out there are made out of 20, 22, 24. I've even seen some that were 26, which is super thin. You know, with these kind of ovens, bringing them up to 450 degrees on some of the bakes that I have to do, that steel contracts and expands constantly from that heat. And if you get one that's a really small, you know, 22, 24, maybe even a 26 gauge, it's going to warp all out of whack on you. So you really want, if you're gonna build one, man, step up. It's gonna cost you a little bit more money in the beginning for the steel, but I'll tell you, you're gonna be so much more happier with the end product and the longevity of your build if you just step up and do it out of 18 gauge. Like I say, with this one, I had to do a double door system because I don't have enough distance here for a full door to swing open. I prefer having the double doors, really. I don't know why, it's just always been my preference. One of the things I did do is get this tractor and trailer style locking system because, like I said, heat causes the ovens to twist and tweak and get all out of shape. So I don't like it when they build them and they put one hasp in the middle, or you'll see ones where they have one hasp at the top. The only problem with that is the door has a chance to warp, and next thing you know, you're losing a lot of your heat out on the floor. So I went with this system, which you could pick up, I think it was like $30 on Amazon. It does not come with the bar because they know that everything's going to be a different height. So really the bar is just this. I used was galvanized gas pipe. It worked absolutely perfect. So I go ahead and open it up. I'll show you guys just how much room is inside this thing. As you can see, it is completely loaded with the hinges. I even had enough room at the bottom that I could have gotten in another 15 hinges if I'd have had that many of them cut out. This thing is absolutely incredible. I'm not gonna go too much in detail on this. If you're out there and thinking about building one and you'd like to know some of the tips and tricks on what I did and how I got mine to work, you know, you definitely wanna put a fan in your oven because you really want this to work like a convection oven because, you know, heat rises and that could really cause problems when it comes to powder coating. If you get it set at 400 degrees and you have 400 at the top and you're only at 350 at the bottom, you know, you're going to have an inconsistency with your powder. So you really want that temperature to be 400 top and bottom. So you can notice here in the bottom, in the back, you may see the holes that I cut in it on the table to allow the air to circulate and blow out on the bottom so that I get a nice circulation. Also installed lights in it. I'll swing the camera around in a minute, show you the control board that I actually bought right off of Amazon. It's an incredible little setup. It works really nice. I haven't figured out everything that it does because it does do a lot of stuff, but we'll take a look at it, see what you think. So let's move over and take a look at that. Okay, so here we are at the control panel for the powder coat oven. If you go to Amazon and you put in powder coat oven control panel, this is probably going to be one of the primary ones that come up, and they sell it in two different ways. They sell it either turnkey, such as this one, where it will come to you all assembled, everything will be wired, all you'll have to do is supply your power, or you can get it to where it's completely tore apart, it's in a box. I think the knockouts are all taken out and all that, but you have to wire it up and put it all together. Now, I normally don't shy away from wiring things up, but this thing has a lot of wires in it. As you can see when I open it up, there are a lot of wires in there, and they are all different sizes. So it does not come with the wire. You have to supply the wire. So I was like, you know what, by the time I figure out what gauge wire runs what and what needs to come from the PID system and the timer, and then I was like, you know what, it's better to just pay somebody that knows what they're doing so that it's easy and I don't have to worry about burning anything up. So that was the way I ordered it, just to let you know. Very simple to operate. One master switch on the side which energizes everything. This particular one comes preset up for internal lights that you can hook up. It also comes with an internal fan system, has a reset to reset your timer if you're doing multiple cooks. It also has alarms both for your temp and for your time. Those are up here. Also gives you your amperage rating and your volt rating. I will tell you this box, I think it is set up to run 4 3200 watt heating elements. And do not run them up in, I think they call it parallel. That's one of the biggest things I was finding on YouTube, that a lot of people were wiring up their ovens and they were running, basically think of it like a heating element being like a battery, and they were bringing their power in and then they were coming out of that one and going into the next heating element and then coming out of that heating element and going back to the control. So when you turned it on, you were energizing basically 2 heating elements, but you just took those individual 32s and doubled it. So now you're trying to heat up 64, and a lot of people were blowing up their relays. And the problem with the relays that are in these things, they fail open. So if they fail, the heating element stays on. So don't wire it up that way. Please follow the directions, wire it up the way they tell you. Bring both wires from all 4 heating elements back to the control box and hook them up the way they tell you. That way you won't have any problems. I would recommend, you'll notice on this one that I have a small fan mounted on the top of this heat sink. I did that, this is just a little fan. It costs like $10 or $15 off of Amazon. I actually went through the box and wired it into the fan switch because I always have the fan on when I'm running the oven. So that way the fan inside the oven is on and this little fan is running, helping keep this heat sink cooled down. And it works incredible. It's an incredible $12, $15 that you spend, and it's going to help lengthen the life of your control box. So, I don't want to spend any more time on that. If anybody out there is thinking about building one of these and you have any questions, just hit me up, in the comments below. I will try to answer your questions. I'll try to help you as much as I can. Other than that, let's go back upstairs. We'll see where DRG custom carts are right now in their builds, what's up and coming, and what to expect. Let's go check it out. All right, welcome back upstairs. I hope you guys enjoyed that little tutorial and the little walkthrough of the shop, getting to see the new equipment that's in place and up and running. It has been an absolute honor to do this video for you guys. I look forward to talking to you again. As far as the V3 carts, the interest list, and also the high lift hinges, the V3 carts, in about 2 weeks, I'm going to launch a new YouTube video that's going to give you the time and date that that's going to go live again. The list is going to be opened up. It's going to be just like it was before, where you pay a $50 deposit to get on the list. Hopefully that list will move a lot faster now that we have this new equipment in place. The list is probably going to be still limited to 100 to start with, just to see where that ends up. So please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Turn on that little bell icon so you don't miss out on that next launch. Also, in reference to the high lift hinges, the high lift hinges are going to go on my website at www.drgcustomcarts.com on Sunday at 12 noon. Okay, so mark your calendar, turn on the little bell, because I can pretty much guarantee you those are going to be gone in like no time. Just as I said before, keep in mind these hinges were designed to work with the Weber 2290 rotisserie. You can find that rotisserie on Amazon. I don't make anything for you buying that. The only reason the hinges were designed to work with that specific model was because it was the only one that was made from a stamp pattern that no matter where it was made and what factory built it, it had to be done to their specifications. So every single one of them is the exact same height. And that's why I recommend the Weber 2290. All right. Other than that, thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching this. Thank you for your support. I look forward to seeing you on our next build. So until then, as always, my friends, smoke like the rest, but roll with the best. I'll see you, my friends.